So the title of this BBC is No Big Deal. This is a theory that I'm still working with, and it's something I just want to share as a part of my process from the winter retreat. So I spent a lot of time meditating on impermanence. We were charged to do that in several classes throughout the course of the teachings during the winter retreat. And of course, I started out on the death aspect of meditating on impermanence because that was kind of immediate. And it's something that even in a little prayer I say every day, please bless me to remember death and impermanence from my heart in order to make the best use of my precious human life. And we all know that that's a very important practice in our Buddhist practice. But gross impermanence also is predicated on subtle impermanence, which is a topic that really fascinates me. The thing about, of course, I'm going to die, you're going to die, everybody's going to die. And we know this. We know this here. We think we know it, but do I feel it? No. When somebody dies, am I shocked? Even we know they're dying, am I shocked? Yes. We just, there's a way that our mind is so clinging to the appearance of permanence. And it's really hard in our gut to acknowledge that things are changing. So this gross impermanence is predicated on subtle impermanence, which is the idea, the perception, or the teaching that everything that is a product, our body, our mind, everything around us that is produced by causes and conditions, that appears to be static and unchanging, like this carpet looks like the same carpet we laid down in 2013. Okay, it's a little bit darker, has a few more spots, but it's still the same carpet. You know, it's not something that we relate to in realizing that at a very subtle level, this carpet is arising and ceasing at the same time, moment by moment by moment by moment, creating a continuity that makes it look like it's the same, because it's happening so fast, moment by moment by moment. So is my body. So is my mind. So is everything. And if we look at this, you know, if you just look at it, it looks like, well, no, everything's kind of the same until it looks like it's not. But logically, gross impermanence could only happen on the basis of the fact that subtle impermanence is happening. One of my absolute favorite movie lines of all times is from Steel Magnolias, which I think is now 30 years old. It's fresh in my mind. That movie is 30 years old. But in that movie, the Dolly Parton character is a beautician. And she does the hair and nails of all these nice ladies. And one of the nice ladies is sitting in the chair telling her, you know, her beauty person, her personal problems as they do. And Dolly Parton is there, snip, 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 comb, comb, comb. And at one point, her character's name is Trudy. And at one point she says to the character, I think it's the Sally Field character, she said, at some point you realize that time is marching on. And then you realize that it's marching right across your face. And you look in the mirror and it's like, well, march, 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 march. There it is, right across your face. But that didn't happen in a single moment. You know, when Geshe Sopa was teaching us that, he said if aging happened all at once, we'd die from the shock. Right? But moment by moment by moment. And you can see this on your birthday. You know, it's not like you're born and then you're the same until you're 1, and all of a sudden on your birthday you're a 1-year-old. And you stay 1 year old, 1 year old, on your birthday, then you're 2, and you get up to 40, and, you know, you turn 40, and then you stay 40, 40, 40, and on 41, suddenly all the changes of the year show up on your face and everywhere else. It's not like that. And now, especially as some of us have been here for a long time, at the Abbey, we look at early photos of the founding of the Abbey, and we think, my God, who are those young people? Same ones, but moment by moment by moment, the change has happened. Geshe Jumpa Tekchuk also gives a nice demonstration of how this happens with time, like the clock. You know, 12:30 is our lunchtime, but 12:30, then there was 12:29, then 12:28, and 12:26, and 12:27, and 12, going back. At what, one moment changes into another, and all of a sudden it's lunchtime. Why? Why? It didn't stick at 12:30 because suddenly it's 12:30.01. But now it's lunchtime. We labeled it lunchtime. So that's a way that we kind of catch this impermanence and hold it. So this is what I was working with on retreat. And I want to try to draw this for you because the image was so very clear and very helpful for me. So let's say, here we have nun Sloppy. This is Venerable Sloppy. And this is Venerable Precise. Okay? So here we have both venerables. Our eyelashes are all falling out at the same time. Your skin is starting to flake off moment by moment by moment. Your hair is growing moment by moment by moment. Little lint things are falling off your robes moment by moment by moment by moment by moment. Everything around you is changing moment by moment by moment. Some scholars say that our senses, our visual consciousness actually sees this, but cannot apprehend it, but does not register. I don't know that that's the whole real view of that's debatable, but some scholars do say that, right? We can't see it, but if we can imagine it, moment by moment by moment, and the mind is changing moment by moment by moment by moment by moment by moment. This whole kaleidoscope of the room is changing moment by moment, the carpet is changing moment by moment, the ceiling is changing, everything changing in motion, constantly in motion. We can't see it, but we can imagine it, and we know from having reasoned out that we didn't suddenly become 69 the day we were born, we know that this moment by moment change is happening. Until suddenly, Venerable Precise takes a look at Venerable Sloppy and sees this frozen image and remarks, "You are so sloppy." Shock! No! This moment of sound is suddenly frozen in my mind. I'm Venerable Sloppy, did you guess? Frozen. The scene, the dishes, the person, the other nun, the sound, what she said before, what I thought after, everything absolutely frozen in mind, right? But according to my immediately preceding visualization, where everything is changing, this nun's thoughts have already gone somewhere. This nun's thoughts have already gone somewhere. This sound, because sound is impermanent, why? Because it's a product, is already gone. But this frozen moment becomes a big deal. Frozen in time. Now, where is that? Where is that big deal? Where is that billboard that I am now going to recall, bring back, beat over the head of this nun every time I see her until I work with my affliction and then have to go confess it? I made it up. That's my theory. I think that's the teaching, but this is my experience. I made this up. There's no such thing as a big deal. So then I'm thinking, all right, here I am. This is all the continuity of Venerable Sloppy. Big deal. Big deal. Big deal. Big deal. Walking around in your mind with these frozen images, big deal picture, big deal picture, big deal picture, billboards of big deal, big deal, big deal, big deal. How do I actually see what's actually in front of me? And I'm not talking subtle impermanence now. I'm talking how do I actually see what's happening in the moment? Because all around me, in my own mind, in my own perception, everything is filtered through these billboards of big deal. Oh, it was such a liberating picture in my mind. I made this up. Wow. How many things have I made up? Oh, well, that's what I mean, hardly worth talking about. There's so many. So I sat with this and was really quite inspired about it. And then Russia invaded Ukraine. And I thought, oh my God, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. So I've had to sit with it, and I'm still working with this one. But if I take the big picture of what happens between one moment of altercation between two people, and look at how it's changing moment by moment by moment by moment, it's the same. So conventionally speaking, of course, we have not made up war. It's not that. It's not denying that, that things happen in our life. It's not denying that there is suffering. The important thing that I then had to bring back in is like, oh, the more we understand that things are changing moment by moment by moment, and we see how our ignorance keeps us from knowing this, keeps us from understanding this, the suffering that comes from our grasping at things as permanent, whether it's grasping for the resources, craving for the resources that are going to help us, craving for the freedom from the pain that's going to make us, whatever we're grasping at, frozen in time, is so much a source of compassion, must be a source of our compassion, right? Must be. Because, and as I think I mentioned in the go-around, I was really looking at Chandrakirti's 3 kinds of compassion. Compassion observing sentient beings, which recognizes the dukkha that we're in. Compassion observing phenomena that recognizes that change moment by moment. And the compassion observing the unapprehendable, the emptiness of everything. That a mind, not saying I have one, but imagining that a mind that can really apprehend these things, the compassion must be beyond my understanding of what compassion would feel like, to recognize how sentient beings get so caught in our ignorance that cannot see this view. It's like a whirling. Did you ever do sparklers when you were a kid? 4th of July, you get the sparkler out, and you like, watch the wheel go around. It looks like just like that. But that's not what we see. And it's not what we know, and it's not what we think about. So, bringing it back to the very personal level, my practice these days is to try to just look at, there is no big deal. Anytime I'm making it up, anytime I am grabbing onto a moment and trying to relive it and repeat it over and over and turn it into a thing, to try to remember that all the pieces of it are already in motion. The pinball has been hit, those balls are already going in every direction. There's no need in the world for me to hang on to that moment. It's not to say that there aren't things I might need to apologize for. There are things I might need to clean up. There might things I need to adjust. But I don't know, as I said, I'm in process with this, but Jeffrey Hopkins in his book on cultivating compassion was the original name, but now it's called A Kind Heart, something about a kind heart. He recommends that we play with this image. Chandrakirti's metaphor is like looking at like the moon reflected on the water, of wind, the full moon reflected on a lake or a pond with the wind rippling across. You can imagine the ripple of that moon in water being the way things are with this sense of subtle impermanence. And Jeffrey's recommendation is that we imagine walking around and trying to kind of overlay this image of the rippling moon reflected in water on the people and things that we see. His advice is that once you get kind of into the habit of doing this, then the flexibility grows, because we have this sense of movement, of flux, of flow. So I share that as a thing to play with that may help us not get so stuck when we feel hurt, feel unheard, feel misunderstood, all the ways that we grab onto things and make us unhappy. So practice with no big deal.